Here.
Jerry Haw.
Yes.
Nick Lucina, absent. Vidar Liram.
Yes.
Sarah Stevenson.
Here.
Sam Corum.
Here.
David Blair.
Present.
All right, thank you very much. I sent you the proposed agenda. The agenda's in front of you right now. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
No.
Hearing none, the agenda is approved. At this time, we'll have citizen and public comment. I don't think we have anybody here today to talk to us. I know Tyler's here for our new business. And so the next thing is approval of the minutes from the meeting on April 14th. Again, I'd just like to say you guys did a heck of a job. It looks like you had a great meeting while I was gone. Maybe I ought to leave more often. And you did a heck of a job. I want to just recognize all of you for what you did on Arbor Day. Front page of the local newspaper is really outstanding. Sarah, thank you so much for the work you did on the press releases and that type of thing.
No problem.
So, okay, looking at the agenda, or I'm sorry, looking at the minutes, are there any additions or corrections to the minutes from the April 14th meeting? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. All right, let's move on into new business. And Peter, I see Tyler's here. You want to update us on where we are with our big grant?
Yeah, Tyler, would you
So
that for us?
I have this for you. So this is a contract between Great Lakes Urban Forestry Group and the Manistee Conservation District. We had a lawyer review it, and they felt that it was a good idea to include the city of Manistee as a signatory, even though the language of the contract is between MCD and Great Lakes for the most part.
Okay.
So if possible, I'd love to get a signature on it today, but if you read through it, it mostly is just between Great Lakes and the Conservation District.
I understand that, and as far as signature,
And that's, I wasn't sure if the
Yeah.
city of Manistee,
qualified to sign for the city.
For
right?
the city to sign a contract, it needs city council approval, so it would have to be on an upcoming agenda.
and that's, so the other option is I can just remove it. Because like I said, the language of the contract is really already set up between MCD and Great Lakes Urban Forestry. So if it makes more sense, the lawyer said it would be good to have the city as a signatory as an acknowledgement of the contract taking place within the city of Manistee. So I guess,
I'm of the opinion that you don't need our signature.
Okay.
We are well aware of it, and in support of it.
okay, well then I can just go through and take that signature block off and just move forward. We already have our board signature and just have to get it signed.
Great.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
The funds still go toward what we talked about?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is the first part of the
Yep.
grant.
So this is for the purpose right there on the front page.
Yep.
Is tree inventory, tree risk assessment, database setup, and then development of the urban forest management plan.
Just one quick question. So they're going to develop a proposed urban forestry management plan as a result of the work they're doing with inventorying and assessment?
Yes, yep, so there will also be a comprehensive plan, and two, I don't know if Vidar, the request for proposal from Great Lakes Urban Forestry kind of has everything that would be included in the database and the guidelines of the plan.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to share that with the rest of the group, or I can, if you want to read into it a little bit more. So the current timeline, the inventory and database setup and everything would take place this summer. We would hope to get the first draft of the plan around December. And then from there, there would be an opportunity to make revisions a few times with a final plan completed sometime around February. So,
Okay.
and that will include planting locations, and also trees that need to be removed. So it'll be kind of a carbon copy of the inventory data that's in the database, but also like a text version of it with a little more insight.
And I apologize if you covered this in the April meeting, but this contract with Great Lakes Urban Forestry, how much is that one for?
65,000.
65,000 of the 224, and of course,
Yep.
10% goes to you for management?
Yeah, so it's roughly 10% in indirect costs, and then we do have some salaries so we had to make a revision to the budget a little while ago, before the freeze, and we needed to add more salaries in because we had too much in indirect, so we just had to move it from that 10% to essentially direct salaries. So there's some for me, and then some for our educator and our executive director for admin. But we pushed through a billing for just salaries essentially for the last 6 months as kind of a test with the funding freeze to see if we'd be paid about $2,000. I think that's about half of my salaries for the whole 2-year grant. So that's about how much is in there. And then, so the next steps with VDAR, we are trying to schedule a kickoff meeting with Great Lakes, shooting for end of May. So we'll have a virtual meeting with them. They're gonna bring some questions, so hopefully we'll have some answers for them at that meeting. And then they'll start with that inventory in June, July-ish.
Wonderful.
Great.
Yeah, the training session for the city staff and this tree commission in October, that's estimated date,
Yep.
is that in the request for proposal from them, or is that?
Yep, so I included that in there. So essentially, once the database is set up, I wanted to schedule a training for city staff to know how to utilize the layer system as well as tree commission. And basically how it was worded in the request for proposals was 1 or 2 training sessions. And essentially they have 180 days following the trainings, if there's questions, that they will be available to answer questions.
One of the things that I know we talked about in putting the grant request in was engaging with neighborhood organizations. When would you suggest that we start to form those kinds of?
I would be looking for interested community members to sit on maybe some community action boards to essentially kind of guide decisions and provide input as soon as possible. Because realistically, this inventory will take place throughout this summer, and then if I can, schedule phase 2 of this contract to get some of the removals done fall through winter. The biggest issue we're gonna run into is stumps need to be ground as well, and I just don't know if the ground freezes, if that's gonna be too much of an issue to take care of stumps. So we might have to like start in the fall and then pause until spring. But I would like those community groups to also have the opportunity to weigh in on trees being removed. Because I think that's gonna be the biggest hot button item, is we're gonna be removing trees. And essentially, we just need to educate people on the inherent risks of the trees and why we're making the decisions to remove certain trees. And then emphasizing that any trees removed will be replanted at that 2-to-1 ratio. And part of the replanting strategy, where possible, will be to replant where a tree came out, unless the tree should have never been planted there in the first place. So yeah, as far as the community action groups, if we can start recruiting people for those and get the word out, I don't know if it makes sense for the tree commission to do a press release seeking community input into the project and sharing, and I can help you guys put something together for that as well.
Well, yeah, in the neighborhoods that we're looking for, guys, please, chime in here. My understanding in reading the grant request is we're really focused on north side
Yep.
and Maxwell Town.
Yep, so there is a pocket, and it is very distinct what is considered socially disadvantaged. You might want to even argue those boundaries, but they are pretty much set in stone for the removals and plantings. So, the DNR has an urban community forestry, like, disadvantaged community map that is available online. I can share the link with VDR again, but that's what you want to reference for those neighborhood groups, because that's really where the focus is going to take place.
Was one of the areas from Maple going out to 31 up to First? I think that was one of the areas referenced.
Yes,
Okay.
yep,
So
so
it's not just all on the.
pretty much everything north of the channel
No, no,
falls
This
in
is
there.
not north of the channel, this is south.
south.
You said Maple going to where?
Maple going to 31, then up to First. That was highlighted,
There was a small,
yeah,
There might be,
Right.
yeah. I would have to look at the map to be sure.
right. There was
Is this map available?
Yep, it's online. If you Google DNR Urban Community Forestry Social Disadvantage Map, it should be one of the first things I would think.
If it's-
But I can share a link directly with you.
Just share the link with Peter, and Peter will get
Yep.
it out to the rest of us.
Okay,
Thanks.
will do.
Now I'm talking to the commission, is, when I think about people who could be point people to help put groups together like this. On the north side, you guys all know Jenny Pelton. She's a realtor. She lives on the north side, and she's very engaged with the community. And if it's all right with this group, I'd like to, approach Jenny and ask her for her help. And I would say we wouldn't want more than 5 people. And those 5 would be the point people for their neighborhood.
Here's the same.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
so we're looking at 2 groups then?
Right, so
Just 2.
north side would be Jenny Pelt. On the Maxwell Town side, the young man I know named Nate Martin. Nate ran for county commission, and he's engaged with the community. And he'd be another one that would be able to put a group together, if everybody's comfortable with
Yeah.
that.
And also our hairdresser.
Pardon?
Our hairdresser lives over there now. He could be interested.
Okay. Well, those are the kind of, my vision on this is go to those 2 people, tell them, we want to put some neighborhood action group together. Not more than 5, don't put more than 5 people in the room, including yourself. And, then we interface with them.
Yep. And I'm always free to attend. If they have impromptu meetings, I can try to attend those. Or if they've got questions at any time, they can always reach out to me as well.
So I think that's an action item that we got to take out of this meeting, so I'll take that on and report back to you. Yes, Jeff?
Just a couple thoughts as you've been discussing this. First of all, on the north side, there's a typical street right of way is 66 foot, and we've got that in most of the community except the north side. There's some 40 and 50 foot right of ways. So I think we should keep that in mind in areas, make sure that we've got enough room. We struggle as we're rebuilding those streets. They don't meet current standards, geomatically. And so just, we need to keep that in mind. The other thing through this process is everybody here is in favor of trees and we're trying to plant more trees, but we're also fighting against some infrastructure issues. And number one is sidewalks and trees don't play well together. When we see all our sidewalks popping, it's from root base and root growth. And so maybe some thought and conversations about, are there species that have less impact on that or not? Because whenever we have to fix the sidewalks, we have to take roots out to be able to do that. And then how do we interface with our urban forestry and consumers' energy? We have trees that grow up beautiful. They come and trim and hack, and And we've talked about this a few months ago, that they're starting to write their contracts of not trimming, a 30-foot clear section. They're saying under certain voltage and power lines, take it to the ground. And so I think we need to, and maybe you've got some experience with that, but I think, especially as we're just updating our tree inventory and our new plantings and the species that we're trying to plant, maybe there's some strategies that go along with that. We learned that in the grant on 8th Street, where consumers said, no. We VIDAR submitted a different set of species, and then they were okay with that. So this is kind of I know we're just kicking off, but I just kind of wanted to throw out some of those things to think about.
Jeff, and that's why it's going to be so important for you and your staff to be engaged with us as we develop this urban forestry plan.
Yeah, and that should be something that is specifically targeted for the plan already by Great Lakes. So with the plantable area inventory that we are paying additional for, that should take into account overhead utility lines, distance to sidewalks, all of that, species selection. So that should all be included in the planting inventory that they do, the plantable area inventory. So each plantable area will have a point and have a list of criteria that is recommended for that spot, whether it's tree species selection, tree height, root issues. That should all be included in the plan. One thing that would be helpful that has already been brought up is that right-of-way issue. So when they come through to do the inventory, because we are focusing on right-of-way trees, if there is a way for us to easily inform them of those differences in the right-of-ways, it will make it easier for them to actually go through an inventory of the proper trees. Because I know they'll have questions of what's in, what's out.
So in the city's GIS system, in the past year, we've created a layer of the plats. And so maybe there's a way to get access to that to be able to see, because the plats are all in the map. You click on it and you can see, the right-of-way widths and,
Okay.
or I can kind of draw some general bubbles around the map that show.
And I have a
we've got
feeling that's something that'll come up in the kickoff meeting, because it came up before the proposal was submitted.
Okay.
Identifying the right-of-way trees.
Yeah.
So, I'll just make sure that we hit on that at the kickoff meeting, and since you're not gonna be able to attend, I'll just try to get you whatever information I can from Great Lakes for you to maybe be able to answer or help.
Yeah, and I may be able, I don't know how fast I can get it, but have a map created that color codes the different right-of-way widths. Maybe
Okay.
that would be the best way to.
Yeah, and that
Go about
might be
that.
helpful.
Because what we really don't want to have happen, Jeff, is like the utility pole that's out in the street over, in the street you just redid over on the north side.
That was temporary.
That's crazy.
That was consumer's delay, but we got
I know,
it taken care of.
but, this is great. We've got to coordinate these kind of things. Jeff, you and your staff are going to be integral to this and to do it right.
Yeah, when they set up they're trying to set up that kickoff meeting the last week of May, and I'm away that time, but I'm gonna have Brandon attend.
Okay.
So when you get that scheduled, I'll be having somebody come.
Okay, I'll make sure to get you the final date. I suggested the 27th
I
today,
saw that.
so we'll see what they say.
Well, that sounds great. Anybody got any questions for Tyler?
I do.
Go ahead.
It may have been talked about before, but you're talking about marking trees that need to come out, this group that's being hired to do that? Is that something the city then takes on?
No, so part of this grant will be 3 phases. The first phase is the inventory and marking. Second phase will be removal and pruning efforts. Third phase will be planting, and it will all be contracted out to private sector.
Okay.
Speaking of that, is that okay with the DPW? You're not stepping on somebody's toes, are we?
We have plenty of work to do.
I understand that.
Well, that was why I asked, because that would inflate the budget that would normally go to tree trimming and stuff. I mean, you guys don't have that kind of labor force in
We-
addition to what you guys already have.
Yeah, our boulevard or right-of-way tree maintenance is essentially as citizens make requests and then how the tree commission reacts to those, so a trim or a remove. Starting in December, we start doing the removals unless it's an imminent danger, and we'll continue and finish that up, when we stop snow plowing, so February, March-ish. Trimming's kind of along the same lines. We do go out earlier in the fall, and each of the plow drivers drive their routes, and so we look for new growth that might interfere with physically hitting the plow trucks, and we'll do some pre-trimming both along the road edges and along the sidewalks. But we're not out doing prescribed trims, you know what I mean? We're not out there trimming for the health of the tree, and my presumption is that's more of what
Yep, so
what this would
the idea essentially with hiring contractors to do this work is to springboard Manistee into a manageable urban forest.
Right, get them into a spot where they can,
Yep, so part of this too is we plan to do a training both for DPW staff as well as yourselves on assessing tree risk. So we have a forester at our district that is also tree risk assessment qualified, which is kind of the International Society of Arboriculture standard for tree risk assessment. So you guys should be able to field complaints about trees and through a site assessment, walk through a data sheet and determine a risk and associate it with that tree. And that should help you guys to make more conclusive decisions on whether or not this tree is a hazard, does it need pruning, or does it need to be removed thing. And so from there, you guys will kind of have the educational background. Every mature tree that is identified as a hazard, hopefully not too many call for complete removal, but we should be able to take care of with this, as well as a large amount of pruning for trees that basically have overgrown their capacity. So we should be able to get those kind of set back, so the city is in a good place from there with the training and with the state of the urban forest to move on into the future with less of a workload and a better workload. Essentially, you will be set up to manage for the health of trees, not just nuisance issues.
Yeah, that sounds great, and I really appreciate the work you're putting into it, and it looks like it's all going full speed ahead, which is great.
So what is the kickoff meeting going to be? We don't know yet.
End of May, I'm shooting for May 27th, and VDAR will be
Where would
part of that.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a virtual meeting. VDAR, myself,
Okay.
and Great Lakes will be on that meeting.
Be on Zoom or something.
On Zoom, yep.
Okay.
What I might suggest, if the commission members are interested, you can go on and listen.
Yeah, if you'd like.
That's what I was gonna suggest, if you can, maybe you can
Send
shoot
us a
the
link.
information to John and
Yep.
put it out to us.
Once I get it scheduled, I'll send it to VDAR to share
Okay,
with you
there
guys.
go, Right,
Okay.
yeah,
It's really important we have one point of contact.
right,
It's Vito.
okay.
Okay,
That'll be fine.
so, all right.
Okay.
All right? Thanks.
Tyler, thanks for your time. Great to see you. Okay, moving on.
Wait a minute, John, with respect to what you're trying to do for community people and so on.
Yep.
What you suggested sounds great to me. Action groups. So
Yeah, thank you.
go forward with it.
Okay. All right, moving on. Consumer Energy Grant in Marshall, Maxwell Town, the tree watering action item. Peter, you've done some work and looks like it's really going to be excellent. So,
Yeah, so I made a suggestion for something that could be a card printed on two sides.
And Peter, I love it.
David suggested maybe we make it as a door tag. I don't know if that can be made.
How we can slip it under the door.
Yeah, so if you have looked at this and if the text and images are okay, we can go ahead and
Move forward.
maybe Katie can help get it printed.
Yeah.
And Jack Pine will make door tags. We do that for other notifications
only need, we
regularly.
got 15 trees.
Right.
15.
15.
Yeah, it's about 50.
But we're not done. There'll be more in the future.
Yeah, yeah, no, but I'm just saying,
But
Yeah.
for the write-up, it may change for the others.
Oh,
that are
yeah.
there. You know, this write-up is just for 8th Street.
What?
Do you need a copy editor for it, or did it already go through that process?
I don't know, have you looked at it?
I have not.
Just an update for you, when we planted those trees last November, I believe it was, because they're smaller trees, the contractor ordered smaller bags. They just came in today. And so we installed those today and gave them their first fill of water
Okay, yeah.
Good.
this afternoon.
Great.
Right,
So if we get that out, I think it's real timely.
yeah.
right. Because it is drying right now, and right now, the watering for those trees is critical.
I may want to change the text a little bit then, because I think the text says that the water bags are coming, but they're already there.
They're installed today. Mhm.
Okay,
So it should say have been instead of will be placed?
yeah.
So how much help do you need in doing this to contact these homeowners? How much help do you want?
I'll take
I
it.
would, I would just take them and I'd go door to door.
Sam and I'll go ahead and deliver. Sam and I'll sign up there.
Be glad to.
Okay.
David also could do that.
I'm fine with it. They're ambitious, they can go for it.
Yeah,
Well, you two, Sam and Jerry are gonna do it. Put that in the minutes.
Make that-
I've got the map and the locations already, so we're all set to go.
Beautiful. So how soon can we get this done?
okay.
Get- Can we get it to,
Jack
I
Pine.
think it takes like a week usually. Mm-hmm.
should be able to be doing it next week.
I can send you the,
Well,
I hope.
Yes. And then how many? Quantity?
Like 15 copies. They'll
20? Yeah,
print it out
okay.
Here too, whatever.
Yeah.
so Katie, what would it take? A week, 2 weeks?
Usually a week.
Yeah. Sarah, based on what you just looked at, is this something that is, we can make it generic? Genericize it? I don't know if I'm using the right word. For other plantings that we do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is
Do
there-
you,
Instead of just focusing on Maxwell Town and,
yeah, do you typically give something like that to homeowners when you put a tree in?
no,
Because
No,
that'd be really helpful.
the regular program is citizen requested, citizen purchased. So they know the program, they're already invested in the tree itself, and when it's planted, there tends to be more care and they tend to water them and so forth. This was not resident requested, this was a grant we received and then went and selected locations. So the commission's trying to then educate them on why a tree just appeared in front of their house.
I requested a tree to be planted, and I've already followed up with Katie with like 3 random questions. So I don't think it would hurt to just have hey,
Informational.
you've got a new tree, do this, this, and this to make sure your tree
could,
So
not
Prospers.
more on your back, Sarah, but how, could you work something up along those lines that we could utilize?
Sure, if someone could send me the text in digital form.
I can send.
Yeah,
send that.
yep.
So I actually had something along those lines on my list of things tonight.
Okay.
And it was, when we're done with those recycling, or those watering bags, if they wanted to donate those back, those could be reused. You know what I'm saying? And it could reduce the cost and it's up,
You got somewhere to store them?
yeah, we can store them.
I got 4 I'm gonna get rid of tomorrow.
Sure, they're probably sitting in your garage and what am I ever gonna use these for? But if you gave those back to us, the contractor wouldn't have to buy new ones and we would be able to just upcycle them, thank you.
I think people would be very into that.
That's, my 4 trees that I planted 2 years ago are taking root and going off. They're going well.
So that's the third phenomenon for you.
They're doing great. So, yeah, great idea. So, Sarah, if you could work something out along those lines, that'd be great. Thank you.
And Jeff, if you want to put something together where you can recycle or pick those up, because I think I've got about 6 of them sitting in my garage now, and I don't know what to do with them.
Well, let's take them down to the
Take them
DPW.
to the DPW.
Well, now I know, but I hated to throw them away.
Well, let's add that to the door hanger.
Yep.
So are you okay with PDF or do you?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine.
All right, wonderful. Anything else about the watering action? Peter, thanks a lot for thinking about that and taking the action, taking the initiative to do that. Jeff, you got a contractor selected for the about 25 trees you say that we're going to be planting?
We received one bid. It was very close to the pricing we received last year, and it was the same contractor. So city council last week approved that contract, and those trees, I believe, have been ordered by Anthony's Outdoor Services.
Great.
A side note on that, I did add 3 trees to that list. 2 of them will be along Cherry Street where we planted the maple for the Arbor Day celebration, so we'll add 2 more there, and there'll be room for more. But I just thought to balance that out. And then we had some vandalism to one of the trees we planted in Morton Park. So we removed that, and I intend to just replace it with a new one. I was there today. The other ones seem to be budding out and doing well.
All right, excellent. So it's good news to hear that the cost of the trees hasn't gone up that much.
Yeah, they held pretty good.
All right.
Good.
I got to apologize. The next thing on the agenda, I left it on my desk. We've got a beautiful, another Tree City USA decal that, Jeff, I'll bring down to the DPW office, and you can figure out what you want to do with it. It's about this size,
Okay.
and it's reflective and kind of cool. It'd be something that, in my opinion, you know out in Parkdale where they got all the service clubs and everything that are there. It'd be nice to have something like that for Manistee. I don't know who owns that sign situation, but.
Interestingly, there was one within the city limits that we, over by 9th Street, that we removed, and we've been working for about 2 years and trying to figure out how to get it reinstalled and where.
Yeah.
But those are just service groups.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, it was honestly, it was probably like a Rotary project or Kiwanis or something like that initially did that. But I'm not sure.
Well, we've got, for example, we've got the real nice welcome to Manistee sign, that's on 31 both sides. If you feel, and this is going to be up to you, if you feel that one decal, we don't have 2. I don't know why they send us 1, but you can do with it whatever you wish. Okay.
Okay.
And the other, we got a nice thing. This is our 15th year that we have been a Tree City USA, and next year will be 50 years of Tree City. So, not doing too bad.
As you brought up the decal, this just popped into my head. We just purchased a new bucket truck for our forestry work. Every vehicle we have is, almost all, are red. This one was only available in white. But maybe that could be a location for it as well.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, that's where people see us doing the work and stuff.
You got the, that'd be
Good
good.
idea.
Yeah, when we get it, we'll take a look and chat about it.
All right. Nick, thank you so much. And first of all, welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Sorry,
But
late.
the work you guys did on the Arbor Day celebration, I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. It went off very well. And I'd just like to hear from you, just a review, what went well, what could do better, what do we need to do next year, that kind of stuff.
Well, from my perspective,
Yes, sir.
I felt like we had to get it done because John was going to give us grief if we didn't. And everybody just stepped up, right? I mean, for a while there, I was going like, well, I hadn't heard from Jeff, and you had all kinds of things happening. And then it just was like, yeah, everybody knew what to do. To make it better, I don't think it could be easier. So, and I don't know if you added stuff, or maybe I just read it, but I thought you added stuff into the article a little bit. No? Okay.
No.
Well, I thought I had read it all, but I thought it was really a good presentation that went into the paper, and we had a number of people there. It was a cold day.
I was going to say, I thought it went extremely well, but a little warmer or a little less wind would have been great.
Yeah, that's about it.
Doggone it, who's in charge of the weather? The one thing I appreciated is seeing, you had Liz Lasky there representing city council.
Liz was there.
I think somebody from the parks.
Yeah,
She's also on the parks.
yeah.
I know. So this is great collaboration. That's
Yeah.
exactly what
Yeah, Jeff
we need
was
to be doing.
taking care of this.
Yeah.
And I tried to emphasize that in the press release as well, that, it was the tree commission working with the parks commission and local government and the conservation district. So to try to really bring that collaboration home.
Thank you. Again, that's exactly what we need to be doing.
He's doing well.
So is anybody, now is the time in the agenda when we go down the line here, each of you. I'd like to start with David. David, I understand you've got some information, speaking of collaboration.
Yeah,
Liz Lasky and people on the park board, what do you want to report?
Well, it was on the meeting before the last meeting. So the meeting, the minutes that were presented at the previous meeting talked about a collaboration with Parks Committee, or whatever the framing of the name of that entity is, and the Tree Commission for the work that's scheduled for the US 31 corridor between such street and such street. I don't have the specifics. They were thinking that right now would be the time to start planning that, where we could make it greener. There was talk about, maybe getting some donations for the trees, what type of trees, ornamental, whatever. But also, that was something that Liz had talked with Andrew Stafford, which I guess is part of the Manistee Area Chamber of Commerce, some sorts, but he's got a connection with somebody in Traverse City, and they did something like this, and it turned out great. So there's emphasis that we should start talking about it now, because if we don't, it'll come time to do it, and then it won't get done. So
quite obviously, 31 is going to be tore up.
between some street and some street, I don't know exactly which one, but.
Well, it's full reconstruction from Stronach Road to the south, which is where the BP gas station is, to M55. And it is full reconstruction. So all the sidewalks, curb and gutter, every inch of pavement will be coming out and going back new. I do have some updates for you, and most of it's good. I think all of it's good. That road has been approved locally by the city and the townships to be put on what's called a road diet. So it'll be going down to 3 lanes and 3 12-foot lanes. So there'll be a center turn lane through the entire section like there is in Manistee Township right now, most of Manistee Township. That's going to increase the boulevard space between the back of curb and the sidewalk. The state has also received a carbon reduction grant that will fund brand new sidewalk from one end to the other, and with the exception of one area, both sides. So it's going to be a tremendous corridor. The city and the townships and the state have also applied for a TAP grant, which stands for Transportation Alternatives Program. And it really is looking towards creating pedestrian-friendly
Like a bike path
infrastructure.
or something? Bike path or?
Bike paths, walking ways, sidewalks. The townships have requested new lighting and more, not the big Cobra head consumers power lighting, but lighting fixtures in the townships. And the city has requested a section from First Street to Harrison Street with ornamental lighting similar to what we have downtown. We met with the MDOT officials last week and specifically asked them about the tree planting. And they said they are programmed to plant trees wherever you want, and it will be paid for under the project.
Fantastic.
Perfect.
So, but it is the time to start planning and letting them know what we're looking for and what our expectations are, because they're actively in that design process.
So Jeff, when is this construction supposed to start? 2 years out, wasn't it?
Yeah, so they are going to, when MDOT bids projects, it's called a letting. So they're gonna advertise the fall of 2026, so in about a year and a half. They're gonna open up bids or let the bids on in December of '26, with anticipation of construction beginning in March of '27. That'll go the entire construction season, and then it'll also be the entire construction season of '28. And the meeting that we had last week was talking about local detours, full detours, staging of the project. So what the city has requested is to use Maple Street and Washington Street as kind of the main local detour. The truck route detour and kind of the bypass will be around the lake when they did the bridge construction on Memorial Bridge, and then also they upgraded that route as part of the M55 bridge over the Manistee River. And then likely that project will be split at the river. And so one year will be either north or south, not sure yet, and then the second year will be the other half of that. But with the size of the project that they have I believe it was $32 million for just the construction of the roadway. Then you add in probably millions for sidewalks, lighting, tree planting, that sort of thing. The city's gonna put in about $4 million of water main and sewer repairs. Most of the water main will be brand new for us. And so this is approaching $45 million probably, might be higher than that. It's a generational project.
Yeah, it is, definitely is.
But it's not too early to start planting that element of the trees.
Right, because nobody wants to do the flowers anymore, so that's kind of out.
Yeah, the chair of Blossom Boulevard is just busy with other businesses at that time of the year, and nobody's stepped up, so that looks like it's probably defunct. There's only one opportunity's gone now because we're already in May, and then there would be one opportunity next year, but then after that, it'll be a whole new boulevard, so.
Tyler? Yeah.
Do you have renderings for like the sidewalks and bike paths or anything like that that would give aid to planting tree plantings or?
Yeah, the state has just site plan drawings that we can get access to for that planning effort. There's no renderings yet.
Because
Or
the conservation district would be happy to help, kind of.
Facilitate that?
guide decisions on
Yeah.
what should be where and.
Yeah.
You know, and Tyler, I know this doesn't fall under, the current grant.
Yeah, but we'd still be.
Totally different, but it would be nice if we could consult with Great Lakes Urban Forestry that's doing our urban forestry plan, just to get some advice. Obviously with Josh Shields getting engaged with us too, because my question is, do we want to go with all the same species? Do we want to go with different species along that route?
We like to urge diversity with anything. There is like a tendency with street trees and city trees to plant uniform species. The uniform species often is like calorie pear or something invasive that shouldn't be planted in the first place. But when you have a uniform species planting or even a limited diversity planting, you are potentially opening yourself up to issues down the road if, Asian long-horn beetle gets to Manistee County and wipes out all your maples. If you focused solely on sugar maples or something like that, you just lost all of your urban trees.
Right.
So the more diversity, the better. But we also specialize in herbaceous plants and different perennials that could, essentially simulate the flowers that were historically there, but with less maintenance.
So we did include in our TAP grant requests funds to do plantings like that, and certainly we'll want to know what's appropriate from a height, from a aesthetic, and salt resistant and that sort of thing. So
I think
thanks for that offer.
we need to put our heads together with, guys like Josh and this contractor we've got, and get get some feedback and some guidance.
Yeah, and it might be something to talk with Great Lakes about too. I don't know how it really, because they are focused on the inventory of what's
Right.
currently there, but they will be doing the planting. Just with the roadscape changing so much from the time that plan is completed to when the project actually goes in, you know, they're taking a best guess, so, I don't know if it would be super effective, and I don't know if they'd even put their name on suggestions, not knowing exactly how it's gonna look, but we could still work through it.
But I think it's just in a, 15 minutes of advice,
Yeah,
that's what I'd be looking for.
I definitely wanna share with them that this is happening on 31, and I'll get their feedback on how they wanna handle that.
Thinking right now, I don't think there's a tree in that MDOT right-of-way on US 31 within the city limits. I don't think there's a tree in there right now.
I'd have to look real hard. I can't think of nothing either.
Because you've got at maximum 4 foot between curb and sidewalk, where there is sidewalk. So this is a brand new
Yeah.
element.
It'd be nice if we could work something out along those lines, so. Well, very good. Again, we gotta be thinking about the future. David, is there anything else?
Just make sure that we check in with that committee, that beautification committee, see if they, if it's a collaboration, we should get their input too.
Sounds like we just got some good,
Yeah.
So there's a Parks Commission meeting Thursday
Okay.
at 5:30?
Definitely.
5:30. If you can't make it, I'm happy to update them that there's enthusiasm and interest in here, and that we've got an offer from the Conservation District to assist, so, but you're more than welcome to attend that.
David, I'd like, if you're willing to take it on, would you just take on the point of contact between the tree commission and the parks and beautification
I can do that.
committees?
Sure.
That, again, having that one point of contact, I think, is important, and then you'll just report to us on a monthly basis what's going on and that type of thing, okay?
Sure, I can do that. And you said that meeting was happening?
Thursday, right here, 5:30 this
I-
week.
I'll be here for that then.
Okay? Sam, how about you?
That's pretty exciting. A lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
I've never, it would be hard to think about 4 or 5 years ago, where we were and what we were thinking about doing and then implementing all the things that have been done. It's pretty exciting. It really is.
Absolutely. Well, again, because we kept our ears to the track, listening, finding opportunities. And again, it all started with, your initiative on, doing the tree inventories and using the GIS system.
Yeah.
And again, we're just taking that a step further now, which is great. So, thank you very much for, setting the stage, setting the table. Jerry?
Just when we get these little flyers for 8th Street, who's going to let us know so Sam and I can go out and walk them out there? Okay.
Just give us a call.
Give us a call or something like that.
Send us a,
Okay.
And Jeff, thanks for this little property line deal on the area down there on First Street.
Absolutely.
Right.
Would you just, for the benefit of Nick, David, maybe even Sarah, talk about trim for view?
Trim for View goes back several years ago where we had a citizen that had a limb out on the park area, Douglas Park, I believe, by the beach there. And this person had a home up back a ways from the area and thought that that limb was bothering her view of the lake. And her clients that she was renting the house to and so on. It was a rent for, short-term rental place. And she thought it was bothering them and not getting the full potential of the view of the Lake Michigan, et cetera, and so on. And she worked very hard
she
and
did.
put a lot of effort into it
She was
to
relentless.
try to get us to trim that limb.
10 years.
Yeah, she was relentless.
But that limb had, it really didn't have much significance at all as to the view. And the limb is still there and she's gone, so. The tree went
But
off.
because of that, we, not here, but our planning commission has come up with, they will not have a view, what is it called?
Trim for view.
What is it?
Trim for view.
Yeah, but it's trim for view.
A view corridor.
Yeah,
Yeah, so the planning commission says you can build your house or something, you know, and your neighbors can't say, well, you just cut off my view,
right,
okay? View shed is what it's called.
View shed.
right, that's the term.
Yeah, you don't own the view.
So we're coming back as a tree commission with this, saying the same thing applies here. You know, and we're only talking about trees on public city-owned property. You know, we're not going to trim exclusively to give somebody a view of the river, the lake, or their next door neighbor's bedroom window, you know?
Right, the city's not a condo association.
Yeah, I
We've
mean,
had a lot of requests on Riverview lately, or maybe I'm just getting unlucky with the, the tree trim requests I've been getting.
well, and again,
Well,
Sarah,
that's
that,
why.
and again, that's what we're talking about here.
Yeah.
And if it's, the only reason they want it cut is I want to have a better view.
They want their vacation rental to have a
Yeah.
better view. Because their neighbors have clear cut their riverbank, so they want theirs done.
So that's why I put that information into the system. I hope everybody saw it, and Jeff sent that back to me, because it's kind of weird as to how, you know, who owns the land down to the river bank there and so on. Because as I tried to explain, that normally if you buy a lot around the lake, you own up to the waterfront. But here apparently over the years, the city and other landowners and owners changed some things to the point where the city has the right of way to build the walkway and stuff down
Those lots along First Street, when they were platted, so when they were created as they are today.
there. Okay.
Yes.
That's, okay, good.
So the city has always owned the riverfront.
Okay,
Oh,
right.
And that's the case all the way up to, from the beach, all the way up to the college building.
Okay.
oh,
Oh, wow.
all right.
The city owns all the frontage.
What about on the other side of Maple now, going out to 31? Is that true there?
Downtown, that's all privately owned, and it was platted to the water's edge, so each building downtown has riparian rights.
Okay,
Oh,
okay.
And so the city had to gain leases from those properties to build the Riverwalk.
Okay, that's what I
Oh,
was
interesting.
suggesting as to
And
how
then-
that happened.
And then the opposite, if there's docks out from the properties, say, west of Spruce Street, then those property owners lease that frontage from the city on an annual basis to be able to put improvements on it.
Interesting.
Stairs, a dock.
A lot of stuff intertangled.
You got to be aware of that.
those trees along the Riverwalk should be included.
We'll be aware of that in this meeting right here. and
Yeah,
get our
I'll,
heads straight.
I'll get you a map that has all the city-owned property.
Okay,
Okay, that's all.
thank you, Jared. Peter?
Yeah, I'm happy we're achieving all this. It's going well.
Thank you. Sarah?
Agree with Peter.
Sarah, I know I have one question. I know you're starting a new job, you know.
I've started, yeah.
Started a new job. Is this 5 o'clock meeting going to be a problem for you?
Nope.
Good, thank you. I just wanted to make sure you were, because we value you being here.
Nope, it's all good.
All righty. Nick?
Good, thanks.
You all set? All right, well, that's it.
I got just a couple things, if you don't mind.
I forgot you.
So, the ornamental trees at the city marina around what we call the bowl, those are something that we treat each year, and so I've signed the contract so that those will be taking place. I've also signed a contract and accepted the proposal to treat the Tree of Heaven that we reviewed on Ford Street. It was actually pretty inexpensive, but they're basically going to be injecting poison into that tree. Probably it already has happened. And he said that that tree will cycle as it's drawing water from the ground, and water will move up and down through that tree. And he said, you can expect that the tree will leaf out, and then it will likely struggle and lose its leaves, and then it will try to leaf out again and use up all its energy. And after it dies, then it's safe for us to cut it and take it down. He also has looked at the compost area where I bet there's 50 to 100 of them out there. And I'm still waiting on pricing from him to do that. But they're likely to treat that with a ground application around the clusters of those trees and then let the roots just naturally absorb them. And then when they cease life, then that'll be done.
One question on this. Does the property owner know that this is happening?
I will make sure I don't think I notified him. I will make that happen.
Yeah, because he is pretty persistent about wanting to remove that tree.
Yep. Okay.
And we're doing it the right way.
Yep.
Oh, the other thing, are you gonna make a movie of this so we can see it down the road sometime?
You want a time lapse?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll work on that. Also, we're gonna I'll do a trimming of a tree in the marina. If you've seen, there's construction going on for a new handicap ADA accessible ramp. And we've only limbed that thing up to be able to make sure we cut grass and it doesn't interfere. But with that elevated ramp going down, there's a little bit more interference. So when the contractors cleared out of that, we're gonna bring our genie in there and just kind of limb it up a little bit. So just a FYI. And then we had a large branch come down at 4th and Sycamore Friday. And I didn't write it up, but if you want me to write it up, I will. But I would like the commission to look at it. I think the tree we should evaluate it for its safety. It's at the northeast corner of Sycamore and 4th Street. And you'll see where a large branch came down. It's pretty fresh, but do you want me to write that up so we've got, or if somebody would just go look?
I'll look at it.
Okay.
Sycamore and Fourth, though.
I actually sent it to you when I was out there with the crews and I never hit the send button.
Oh.
And I found it this morning when I came into work that I hadn't sent it, so,
Well, send it again, that way it'll be reminded.
Okay.
I'll go look at it.
all right.
I'll use it for you to write the paperwork up.
That's it for me. Thank you.
All right, if there's nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you all so much.
I think you need a motion to adjourn and a support.
Oh, before you do, I got one more thing. Consumers Energy Tree Planting Grant, I just got an email this morning that their 2025 program is open. So if you want, I'll forward that probably to Vidar.
Peters are.
All right.
Okay, so we need a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Is there a second? Second from Nick. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion's carried. Thank you.